It was a calm summer evening in the otherwise quiet suburban enclave of Cedar Creek Estates, the kind of neighborhood where lawns were manicured to perfection and the faint hum of sprinklers filled the air. But for Marcus Ellis, a 32-year-old father of two and an avid grill master, the tranquility of his backyard was about to become the epicenter of a storm. Marcus had always loved summer nights. The smell of sizzling meats, the laughter of his children playing tag, and the warm glow of the grill lights, these were the simple joys he cherished after long hours at work. On this particular Saturday, Marcus had decided to treat his family to a backyard barbecue. The fire was low, the smoke minimal, and the music soft. Nothing about this night should have been controversial, but in Cedar Creek Estates, appearances mattered more than joy. Within an hour of firing up the grill, the first complaint arrived, a polite but firm knock at the door. "Mr. Ellis, we've had a complaint from one of your neighbors," a board member of the HOA said, clipboard in hand. "Apparently, your barbecue is disturbing the peace." Marcus blinked, stunned. He had been cooking for his children, not throwing a party. "Disturbing the peace?" he asked. "It's just a family barbecue." The board member shook her head. "We have rules, Mr. Ellis. No open flames outside of designated areas. You're in violation." Marcus nodded slowly, trying to keep his composure. "I'll put it out immediately," he said, quietly. Inside, though, a spark of frustration ignited. The HOA was notorious for nitpicking, but this seemed personal. The very next day, notices arrived in his mailbox, formal complaints, fines, and threats of legal action if Marcus didn't comply. Each letter was stamped with red ink and carried an unmistakable tone of intimidation. He had violated a rule no one else seemed to follow. The irony was not lost on him. As word of the complaint spread, the neighborhood began to divide. Some neighbors whispered in the shadows, supporting the HOA's strict stance. Others, more quietly, admired Marcus's calm defiance. But Marcus refused to be cowed. He began documenting everything. Photos of the barbecue area, measurements showing the smoke was minimal, records of prior barbecues, even audio recordings of conversations with neighbors. He wasn't going down quietly. Then came the twist. One neighbor, a young tech-savvy woman named Lena, approached him discreetly. "I've seen what they're doing," she said. "The HOA isn't just enforcing rules, they're targeting anyone who doesn't fit their mold. If you want, I can help you expose them." Marcus hesitated for a moment, considering the risk. But deep down, he knew the truth. This wasn't just about a barbecue. It was about power, control, and intimidation. Together, Marcus and Lena began compiling evidence, not just for the minor barbecue violation, but for years of HOA overreach, intimidation, and bias. The next weekend, Marcus invited a few neighbors to witness another barbecue. This time, cameras were discreetly set up, and the smoke barely rose above the backyard fence. Yet, the complaints came again, emails, phone calls, and even one anonymous note slipped under his door, warning him to stop causing trouble. But the situation was about to escalate beyond what anyone could have imagined. One evening, Marcus received a call from the local news station. A neighbor, enraged by the HOA's behavior, had leaked the story. The headline would read, "HOA bullies father over family barbecue, community outraged." Suddenly, Marcus's backyard dispute became a national story. Social media exploded with debates, memes, and support for the barbecue dad. The pressure on the HOA intensified. Board members who had once wielded power with arrogance now faced scrutiny. Emails from concerned residents poured in, demanding accountability. Phone calls from local journalists and civic organizations arrived daily. Marcus had not only defended his right to grill, he had sparked a movement against petty authoritarianism. But the climax had yet to arrive. One evening, the HOA called an emergency meeting. Marcus, calm but resolute, attended with Lena and a small group of supportive neighbors. The room, filled with stern faces and whispered anxieties, was tense. The president began, trying to assert control. "Mr. Ellis, your actions have caused disruption, and we will take further measures if necessary." Marcus, holding the floor, projected weeks of documented evidence, emails showing selective enforcement of rules, recordings of board members laughing about picking on the rebellious residents, and photographic proof that other neighbors violated the same rules without consequence. The room went silent. Some board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, realizing their facade of authority was crumbling. Marcus's calm voice carried the truth. "This isn't just about a barbecue. This is about fairness, integrity, and respect. You cannot target one family while turning a blind eye to others. The community deserves better." Then came the final, shocking twist. Lena revealed an internal email chain showing the HOA planning to specifically intimidate Marcus because he had refused to join a private social circle of influential neighbors. The evidence was damning. Board members gasped, and whispers turned into audible murmurs. Outside the building, news crews had gathered. By the time Marcus left, cameras captured him smiling with his children by the grill, a symbolic act of defiance and resilience. The HOA, humiliated and exposed, faced legal investigation, public backlash, and pressure from the community to reform. But Marcus wasn't done. The backlash was not only public, it was personal. Neighbors who had previously stayed silent now reached out, bringing gifts, letters of support, and even helping repair the backyard with Marcus. His family became a symbol of courage, community, and the power of standing up to injustice. The final scene was one Marcus would never forget, a neighborhood block party organized in his honor, smoke from multiple grills rising in the summer air, laughter echoing, and the once silent backyard now alive with celebration. The very HOA that tried to intimidate him had inadvertently united the community, proving that sometimes the smallest acts of defiance spark the biggest change. As the sun set, Marcus watched his children play near the grill, feeling a surge of pride and relief. He had faced intimidation, bureaucracy, and subtle threats, and emerged victorious. The story of a simple barbecue had transformed into a saga of courage, resilience, and justice, captivating the entire neighborhood and inspiring countless others. Just when Marcus thought the worst was over, a storm of unexpected tension hit Cedar Creek Estates. The first weekend after the initial HOA complaints, he decided to grill again, but this time, he did it quietly, hoping to avoid further attention. The smoke was barely noticeable, the grill was low, and the neighbors seemed peaceful, at least at first. But then, it started. An anonymous note slipped under his door, reading only, "We're watching. Stop or face consequences." Marcus felt a shiver run down his spine. Who had sent it? Was it someone on the board? A neighbor? Or someone with a vendetta he hadn't anticipated? The very next day, another family reported him to the HOA, claiming his grill smoke damaged their property, an obvious exaggeration. Marcus knew the fight was far from over. The HOA was ramping up pressure, trying to intimidate him and make an example out of him. That night, Marcus stayed up documenting every detail, measurements of smoke, timestamps of the grill usage, and even videos showing the harmless nature of his barbecues. Lena, the tech-savvy neighbor who had quietly offered to help, sent him a cryptic message: "I've uncovered something big, but it's dangerous. You need to be ready." The suspense grew when, the following morning, Marcus noticed his backyard had been subtly tampered with. The grill was shifted slightly, the patio furniture had new scratches, and footprints led toward the fence line, proof someone had been there at night. The message was clear: the intimidation was escalating. Determined to fight back, Marcus organized a small neighborhood meeting, inviting those he suspected might have been quietly supporting him. At the meeting, whispers started circulating about the HOA board's secret agendas, selective rule enforcement, and even past intimidation against other residents. Marcus realized he wasn't the only target. As the meeting ended, a stranger approached Marcus and handed him a USB drive, saying only, "This will show you everything they've been hiding, but be careful who sees it." Marcus's hands trembled slightly as he took it, sensing the gravity of what he was about to uncover. By evening, he plugged it into his laptop. What he found made his jaw drop. Hidden emails, internal discussions, and even recordings revealed a shocking truth. The HOA had been systematically targeting families they deemed different or nonconforming. And now, Marcus had proof that could expose years of abuse, bias, and corruption. But before he could decide what to do next, his phone rang. The caller ID was blocked. A deep, distorted voice whispered, "Stop digging, or you'll regret it. Some truths are better left buried." The line went dead, leaving Marcus staring at the screen, heart pounding. At that moment, the screen on his laptop flickered. A new email appeared from an unknown sender with the subject line, "We know what you have. Are you willing to risk everything?" Marcus froze. Was it the HOA? Someone else? Or a far bigger threat he hadn't anticipated? He glanced at Maya, playing innocently nearby, and felt a surge of protectiveness. Whatever he did next, it wasn't just about him, it was about his family, his community, and the principle that no one should be bullied into submission. The story ends this part on the edge of suspense. Marcus now has powerful evidence, unknown adversaries, and a looming threat. One wrong move could escalate everything, but the decision he makes next could change the neighborhood forever. The tension in Cedar Creek Estates had reached a breaking point. Marcus knew that the HOA, emboldened by petty power, would stop at nothing to intimidate him, but now he held the one thing they feared most, proof of their wrongdoing. That morning, he gathered Lena and a handful of trusted neighbors in his living room. The USB drive he had received contained everything: emails showing deliberate targeting of residents, recordings of meetings where board members laughed about punishing families, and even documents proving selective enforcement of rules. This wasn't just a barbecue dispute anymore, it was systematic abuse of authority. Marcus made a bold decision. He would confront the HOA publicly, in front of the neighborhood, and expose their actions. As the board called for another urgent meeting, Marcus arrived, confident and prepared. Cameras had been set up discreetly, both by supportive neighbors and by local journalists who had caught wind of the story. The HOA president, once arrogant and controlling, tried to assert dominance. "Mr. Ellis, this is a private matter. You have no right." Marcus interrupted, projecting the first email onto the screen. The room went silent as the correspondent scrolled across the projector, board members plotting to fine families arbitrarily, mocking complaints about trivial issues, and targeting anyone who dared to resist. "Is this how you define fairness?" Marcus asked calmly. "This is abuse. And the community deserves the truth." A wave of murmurs swept through the room. Neighbors began speaking up, recounting petty fines, intimidation, and threats they had suffered silently for years. The tension turned into chaos as more people came forward, emboldened by Marcus's courage. Then came the shocking twist. Lena handed Marcus a folder containing recorded footage of the board members at private meetings, laughing about teaching lessons to families like his. One particularly cruel member, who had ridiculed Marcus's grill, was caught mocking him explicitly, unaware that he was being recorded. The footage played on the projector, faces red with humiliation, voices echoing arrogance turned into shock. Outside, a local news crew arrived, broadcasting live. The HOA's actions were now under public scrutiny. Calls from concerned citizens and civic organizations flooded in. What began as a complaint about a simple barbecue had erupted into a full-blown public scandal. But Marcus wasn't finished. He had saved the most poetic twist for last. Using a cleverly positioned camera, he revealed that the HOA president had personally tampered with his grill area during the previous intimidation attempts. Evidence showed footprints, scratches, and tampering, all captured on video. The community gasped. The very person who tried to control and scare him had committed the crime. The final confrontation was both satisfying and dramatic. The board, exposed and publicly shamed, had no choice but to admit wrongdoing. Fines were rescinded, the board faced legal investigation, and reforms were demanded immediately. Marcus had not only defended his right to barbecue, he had overturned years of oppression. As Marcus returned home, the atmosphere had shifted completely. Neighbors came together, organizing a block barbecue in his honor. Laughter, smoke from grills, and the aroma of sizzling meats filled the air. Children played freely, and even some HOA members, humbled and ashamed, joined in, showing the power of truth and courage over intimidation. The ultimate twist, however, came in a quiet moment. The cruel board member who had mocked Marcus tripped over a decorative garden gnome strategically placed by one of Marcus's supportive neighbors, landing in the flower bed. The neighborhood erupted in laughter, Marcus included, enjoying the poetic justice of the moment. That evening, Marcus stood by his grill, watching Maya play nearby. The once controversial backyard was now a symbol of defiance, community, and resilience. He realized that what had started as a simple family barbecue had ignited a movement, exposed injustice, and reminded everyone that no authority can suppress courage and truth indefinitely.